This is part 2, and in the original video I was talking about doing seeds versus cuttings or clonings, and this is an update, and I'd like to show you the results so far. This is a tree can 7-site garden, and one of the nice things about this particular model is not only does the light hood come down very low to the plants if I wanted it to. That permits the approximately 20 watts to suffice, but it also attaches to the back of the garden with magnets. And so it's very easy to take that off, set it aside, to be able to get to the plants. So let's take a close-up look at some of these. And if I were to lift the deck lid, those are some healthy looking roots there. We'll let the water drip off a little bit. The plants that I have in the 7-site garden are 3 New Mex Easter hot peppers, but what is of particular interest would be the plants in the back row. Now, in the back row, these 3, I'll try to separate the roots a little bit, are my clones or my cuttings that I ended up taking off of a very old cucumber plant. They've rooted quite nicely in this little garden. One of the things of particular interest is that the first 2 are what you'd typically get. These are off the tips of the vines, and they make a very nice cutting. This green disc that's around is a Neoprene clone collar. So I'm going to set that plant down for a moment. This monster of a plant, we'll see if we get the roots to come out, is from seed. Now, you'd want to say that, well, obviously seed is a better choice, but I did start the seed before I took the clone cuttings. So it's had a lot of opportunity to grow and grow normally, and that's what a typical cucumber plant will look like. Why do cuttings or clones then? It's because they take on the age of the mother plant, and after they root, it doesn't take as long to get cucumbers from those. Same principle for other things, other types of plants as well. Let's lay that one down. And then the third one that I'd like to show to you is this one. Now, that one has rooted, and if you look at the top of it, it looks a little different. It's got a little brown, try to get that a little closer. They're a little stub tip. And the reason I want to point this out is because I did not take this from the end of the vine. I took it from the middle of a vine, and I was just curious whether or not you could do that feasibly with vining crops. And looking at it, it looks as if there might be some growth at the nodule right here where that main stalk comes up and that leaf goes out. So that is going to be the wild card in this grow off, and we'll find out how that works out. But for now, let's take a look at how I'm going to transfer all these into a larger system. This is a 2-inch net cup, and this is the size that I'll be using in the larger grow out container. The neoprene cloning collars fit into these nicely. They just kind of snap in the top. You can kind of push from the bottom, maybe twist a little bit, push down, and it's a nice snug fit. So when I get those transplanted, there's no grow media that will be needed. It'll just be the roots hanging down into that basket area, into the nutrient water. One of the things that I am going to do to modify this would be to cut the bottom off of these. And the reason I want to cut the bottoms off is I have so much stem and root that I don't want to just cram it into this net cup. I want to be able to allow that clone cutting to just drape down naturally, and that way it'll take advantage of the nutrient and the circulation in the nutrient water. In order to do that, I'm just using a pair of normal household scissors, inserting that as close to the bottom of the cup as I can, and just snipping around. Really does not have to be precise. I do like to keep a little bit of the cup available to help guide the roots downwards, and that's how long it takes, and that's all there is to it. Now, the nutrient that I'm using is from AeroGarden, and it is the AeroGarden standard liquid food that comes with their particular desktop gardens. I used the volume of one of their larger gardens to find out how much I would need per gallon in the big grow system that I'm doing, and the answer was 64 milliliters, and the 64 milliliters I've measured out using a household measuring cup. These are one of the handiest things, tablespoons, teaspoons, milliliters, ounces, and it's great for measuring out your nutrients. So if I reach over and get one of these plants, we'll get the one that I was telling you about from the midsection on the vine, and I'm going to adjust that a little bit. I'd like to have probably about that much suspended downwards. So let's go ahead and dip those roots right through that net cup that we just trimmed up. Insert the clone collar into it. And there you go. That's all you really have to do. So I will go ahead and transfer the other plants in, and then we'll take a look at where these are all going. This one's going to be a little bit different because it was started out in a grow sponge. This plastic piece is called a sponge basket, or a way of working with AeroGardens, because oftentimes their seed packs use these same plastic structures, to put their seed pods into. I do have an urban hydroponics cover up on top, and that was just to help prevent algae from growing over the top of that basket. I'm just going to leave all this together, and let's see what happens if we were to compress those roots, since they're a little thicker. And let's just try to drop those in, see how well it fits. And the answer is that it's going to dip in a little bit farther than I would like to see it go down into there. So the question becomes, how can I get that to stay where it needs to stay? And the answer that I came up with, I might do it a different way in the future, is to sacrifice the white plastic basket. I'll just snip the legs off of it. I'd like to be able to free up the cucumber plant that is growing in there. That way we could use a clone collar on it as well. These baskets are tougher than the net cups, a little thicker plastic, so it takes just a little bit more force using scissors to get through the legs. Now, Let me see if I could make some adjustments. I'm going to slide the net pot off that I just had put on there. The little legs that I snipped off are really embedded into the roots, and so I'm going to come in from the top. One of the things about the cover that I had on top is it has a little spiral design, and it has a way of separating that to take it off the top of the plant. Now, the nice thing about this is, with the basket cut, is I could slide that up the cucumber just enough to give me room to come in there with one of those clone collars. So I'm going to take that around right now. If I feel adventurous in the near future, I might take a pair of side cuts and try to cut that away. But at least for today, it's going to permit me to slide that whole thing down in, push on all the different sides there. Like I said, it's a snug fit. You know, by having a snug fit like this, it helps keep the cucumber plants from pulling loose out of those cups. Pull off a little bit of the roots that I broke. And there you go, one healthy looking transplant. Let's now move over to the grow out system that I'll be using. And here you are. What I've got may look unfamiliar to some of the indoor growers. It is a grow pail, and it's from a company called Black Magic. Has a pump in the bottom of it that pumps the nutrient water up to a tube that goes around the outside, and it jets a single stream of water at the base of each of the 4 planting sites, and those are 2-inch net pot sites. But the water indicator is in the middle, and the plates have a little notch where you could just lift those out, as simple as what you just saw there. So the first thing that we want to do is take the nutrient that I was telling you about, and we're going to pour that in. I have the water in already. There's a little bit of a residue in the bottom, so I'm just going to dip that into the water, and that way we'll get all the nutrient out. If I'm going to pay for nutrient, it's going to go to the plants and not the trash or down the drain. Okay, so that, yeah, that looks pretty clean, and we'll set that to the side. I will go ahead and plug in the unit. It'll take me just a moment. One of my viewers was making a comment on a video about electricity and water, and I have not adjusted my system yet, but I wanted to let you know what they had to say, that even though this is over a large floor, if there's ever a situation where water was spraying out and over, this surge strip that is mounted on the base of the light post is in close proximity, and water could come in contact with it. So it's actually better to move that higher up above your grow system. Think of it in terms of electricity up high, water down low. That way, hopefully, they never meet. So you can hear the sound of the water jetting over to these each of these plant sites. I'm going to take this plate and put it back. And let's start by dropping the plants in. Put that guy over here. This is the tip cutting. We'll stick that over here on the back. We'll take the other tip cutting and we'll put that over to the side. After I cut the bottom off those neck cups, sometimes those little legs catch as I stick them down into the system. And the one that is from the middle of the vine, that particular cutting, I'm going to put that in the front because I want to keep a closer eye on it as these start to grow, just to see what happens. And there you have it. We'll come back for a part 3 at least to follow up on these plants, and we'll talk a little bit about whether or not seeds, clone cuttings, or atypical clone cuttings work out best for your particular grow.